We pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, may I have a motion to accept the minutes of January 25th?
I make a motion?
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have 3 items on our workshop tonight. The first is the transfer of the Vanderburgh Cove Sewer District to DCWWA, and we talked about that a little bit last meeting, and it's progressing nicely. So Warren, do you want to just give us an update on
Sure.
on where we are with that?
Sure. Basically, the Vanderburgh Cove sewer districts consist of 2 sewer districts. One is in the town of Hyde Park, and the other is in the town of Rhinebeck, districts 1 and 2. And I think there are 10 homes within the Hyde Park, and there are 30 homes in the Rhinebeck. And through a intermunicipal agreement that was entered into between the towns a few years ago, Rhinebeck has basically been administering that district, and they borrowed funds to finance certain improvements to the district, no interest loan funds. And DCWWA has expressed a strong interest in taking over the sewer districts, as we are doing with our sewer districts here and water districts in the town. And we've had several public informational meetings in Rhinebeck, because Rhinebeck is really administering the district at this point, in which the homeowners in both districts were notified, and there was attendance by representatives of the districts. Seems to be a strong consensus in both towns that it would be in the best interest of the homeowners for the DCWWA to take over this district. Has had a history of some real problems. And a lot of those have been addressed, but there are more issues that would need to be addressed, and it could really use the expertise of DCWWA. So basically, the town of Rhinebeck tonight at their meeting will be passing a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute an agreement for the transfer of the system to DCWWA. We discussed the agreement at our last meeting, and we notified the public that if anybody was interested in reading the agreement, it's on file in the Hyde Park Clerk's office. And tonight we have to take similar action to authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement on behalf of the town of Hyde Park. Before we do that, we just have to do a quick environmental review of the project. I prepared a short environmental assessment form and have answered the questions in that part 1, basically with information that was provided to me by DCWWA. It's similar to the form that they use for their own environmental review, and Rhinebeck is going to be using for their environmental review tonight. And in the second section of the environmental assessment form, which is the impact assessment, I've answered, assuming that the board agrees with me, all of the 11 questions in the negative, indicating that the project will not create a material conflict with adopted land use plans or zoning, will not result in a change of use or intensity of use of land, will not impair the character or quality of the existing community, will not have an impact on a critical environmental area, will not have an adverse effect on existing levels of traffic or infrastructure for mass transit, hiking, biking, or walkway, will not cause an increase in energy, and will not result in an impact on public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment utilities, except for the positive impact that this will have on the treatment plant. It will not impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources, and will not result in any adverse changes to the natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, or air quality, flora and fauna. Will not result in the increase and the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems, and will not create a hazard to environmental resources or human health. So if the board agrees with all of that, and the Part 1 of the environmental assessment form, in the resolution, which I'm hoping you'll pass tonight, you're going to declare yourself as lead agency for purposes of conducting an uncoordinated review of the environmental impacts of the project, indicate that you've reviewed the short form environmental assessment form, and have issued a negative secret declaration, which means that an environmental impact statement will not have to be prepared for this project. So once we sign, you pass the resolution and we sign the agreement, then the county has some work to do. It has to be approved at the county level. There will be an opportunity for a permissive referendum at the county level, not at the local level on this. And if any homeowners within the district have any objection, they can voice their objections at the county level. And then when it's clear through the county, it will come back to us for the final action on the closing and the transfer of the district. We do have a loan that has been taken out by the town of Rhinebeck, and that has to be dealt with as part of the transfer, and that's covered in the agreement. So that explains that.
Wow, thank you. That was very thorough. Dave has a
Yeah, I
question
just,
now.
now, you said Hyde Park is the lead agency on this?
Only for purposes of we're doing an uncoordinated review, which means that each agency is going to do their own review of the project.
So Rhinebeck,
because
okay.
It's an unlisted action, it's not a type 1 action. So we're doing our small environmental review, Rhinebeck's doing theirs, and DCWWA is doing their own environmental review.
So we're only the
Basically
lead for
file-
that, okay.
doing exactly what we've done here. This is not a project that has any potential for
Environmental
adverse environmental impacts,
just thought we-
only positive environmental impacts.
Did you have something?
Well, I just wanted to thank Dutchess County Water and Wastewater, of course, for taking this on. They're going to provide professional management, as they have been for other systems, and that's great. And I also just wanted to note that I believe this is on the agenda for the county legislature tonight, and our legislator, Hannah Black, reached out to me to make sure everything was kosher, and she'll be speaking in support of it tonight.
Oh, good.
So I think that,
Well, that's good. They're moving it along.
yeah, moving right along.
Good, okay. Yeah, I think this is, without a doubt, a no-brainer in terms of the benefit to the homeowners within that district.
Agreed. Any comments from down there? No, you guys good? Okay, great. So then the second item is an interesting item. It's the potential sale of town-owned property on the, what would be the southwestern corner of Route 9G and St. Andrews Road. And
Should we kind of describe where that is? So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you're on St. Andrews Road heading east towards Route 9G, before you get to the end where the flag is and everything, it's a parcel on your right that kind of parallels along St. Andrews Road and then ends at the corner. It's sort of triangular shaped because of the way the road curves at that point, but it's 8 acres with nothing on it. And we discovered that the town owned it.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
it was acquired back in the 80s, was it?
It was
Through-
acquired, there was the records are a little sketchy, but there was apparently a rezoning of certain property or potential rezoning. I'm not sure how far it went, of property owned by Ferdinand Metz, and this is part of that property. And it's my understanding the property extended all the way down to the Hudson River.
Yep.
And as a quid pro quo for some of that rezoning, Mr. Metz imposed certain conservation easements on portions of his property, mostly the property that borders the Hudson River. And as an additional benefit to the community, he agreed to and did deed to the town the 7.8 acre parcel. We have done a title search on the property, and although there are these encumbrances in terms of covenants and restrictions, it does not appear that they encumber this 7.8 acre parcel. And we are now, in addition to the title search, having a surveyor identify which covenants and restrictions actually encumber the remaining properties, so we understand when we get into zoning issues, how we can deal with those issues from the town side, and also just to make sure that none of the covenants and restrictions encumber this property. But we think that they don't. We're putting it out to the public tonight that there is a 7.8 acre parcel. The town is probably going to wind up putting this property on the market for sale. We don't really have any need for it or any potential future need for the property. We will have to make a decision as to the town board as to how to market the property and select a real estate firm to try to sell it for the town and determine what the fair market value of the property is. But this really could result in a benefit to the town. And if anybody's interested in the property, they should contact the town supervisor.
They should, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we basically looked for all properties that the town owns all over the town to see what was in the town's name, and this one popped up, and really no reason not to put it back on the tax rolls and benefit the tax base.
Right. It does look like it might have some potential for certain uses, so,
It has a little frontage on 9G, just a small frontage on 9G, right? And the rest is residential, I assume.
It's its own neighborhood, that's right.
It is a neighborhood here?
Neighborhood.
Okay.
and it has a lot of frontage on
St. Andrews,
Andrews
right,
Road.
yeah. It does, yes.
So our next step is to get some feedback from the surveyor
We're waiting for
regarding
the surveyor's
okay.
report.
And then-
And then we're going to discuss probably internally as to how we want to market the property and maybe interview some real estate
Yep.
brokers. And then before we make any final decisions, there will be a
Include our-
resolution that has
yeah.
to be passed by the board.
And we'll include our assessor in that discussion
Absolutely,
too, and
absolutely.
get, try to arrive at fair market value and put it up for sale. Okay, well, thanks, that was, it really began with Emily's research.
Nice piece of
Trying to see
It
what we
is a
own.
nice
Is
piece
that-
of land.
It is nice.
Really
Does anybody else have
Piece.
thoughts on that, Ken
Well-
or Joe?
Do you, I know you've done some research, do you know what other properties we have currently?
Well, aside from the ones that the town parks,
Right,
town
right,
buildings
right.
and stuff, there's one near the Statsburg Firehouse on South Cross Road. There aren't a lot of other decent-sized ones. There are a few small lots within Dutchess Estates
There's a
that I
2
think probably were for like a drainage purpose
Oh,
or
I
something like
gotcha.
that. This was the biggest one that seemed like it really had no reason to be in the town's possession.
There's a 2-acre parcel on East Market that adjoins Pine Woods Park.
Oh,
So that was on East Market that adjoins Pine Woods Park. And, the rear exit, or rear, so to speak. So that was also a gift to the town.
Does it adjoin Pine
That
Woods
long
or
Pine
Pine Woods, or
Hackett?
is it
I think it
well,
adjoins.
I know, because it's
Oh, no?
on
I'm
it's
sorry.
on the south side of the stream.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
yeah.
and I think there was part of the recreation master plan, the concept of building a footbridge over the
to
stream
connect.
there, so that you could eventually connect
Connect the park.
Pine Woods Park and Hackett Hill, which is a great
okay.
idea. But,
Windy road there.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
And the
that's-
piece on South Cross, I don't know the story behind that. You have to find out why we have these.
Near the
so
ice
this
bowl.
seemed like the most easily marketable.
Marked.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
That's kind of where we went
Yeah,
to.
we were concerned, sometimes these things are dedicated and there are restrictions. There's still that possibility, we're waiting for the report of the surveyor, but fortunately, it wasn't dedicated for parkland, which would restrict our ability to sell it or to utilize it without state legislation. So it looks promising.
Yeah, okay, great. So more on that as we progress. So the third item on our workshop agenda is just to bring everybody up to speed. As we have discussed in the past, Emily applied for a NYSERDA Cleaner, Greener Communities Grant. And you'll see that we have a resolution to authorize the signing of that contract with the NYSERDA people. It was a very long time in coming. We kind of wondered if they had changed their mind, but apparently they didn't, because it's a fairly involved grant. It's a great, it's really rather cutting edge, and we have to give Emily the most credit for that. So we do have that on our agenda to go forward.
Can you just
Part-
explain what that grant is going to be
Yeah,
used
yeah.
for
Sure.
and?
Yeah,
But did you want to say?
Well,
anything
just
first?
to introduce it just a little bit further, and then Emily can really get into the meat of it. Part of the reason that we have this on the agenda tonight is that last week at the State of the County address, the county executive announced that Hyde Park would be this recipient for the first ever award through the Program for Manageable Growth for infrastructure. So we were awarded a $500,000 grant towards a sewer project, that if and when we are able to put that together. So that was very exciting that we have that first building block for a commercial sewer district. And because of that, it really makes sense to go forward with the NYSERDA grant, because part of that will be a sewer feasibility study. So it's a very long and involved process to actually go from the concept of sewer to the reality of sewer. Many steps that we're finding out. And so the fact that part of this grant will result in a feasibility study, it really encourages us to go forward, because we have the $500,000 award through the county for the Program for Manageable Growth. And in addition, I've talked to the owners and developers of that parcel, one of the primary parcels, the former Amish market, and they are very much in favor of us going forward with the grant. So I think because of all these pieces, it makes sense. So Emily, do you want to kind of get into the meat of it and
Sure.
add to that?
Yeah. So the concept of the grant, we've kind of started by looking at what areas of the town are most in need of redevelopment. And one is the area around Route 9 and Pine Woods Road, obviously. And so the project area is not only the Amish market parcel and that section, but also the surrounding area, the CVS Plaza, the, what's the one called that Stan Franco?
It's where the laundromat
Where the laundromat is.
Directly
Cup and
across
Soda.
the
Right across the
street
street.
on Route 9.
Right, so that whole area
Park Road.
around Route 9 and Pine Woods Road is the project area. And so the concept of this grant is to help put together some of the underlying pieces that are needed to allow that to be better redeveloped. So the main components are to do a sewer feasibility study, figure out how a sewer could work for that area, then do the design for traffic improvements, which could include a cross street through there, and would certainly include sidewalk and bicycle and pedestrian improvements, the design for all of that, so that those things could be eventually built by private developers or through the town obtaining grants, but we would need the design in order to move forward on that. And then the last piece is to draft zoning updates, kind of like we did for the Crossroads area, to modernize the zoning and make it more compatible with the types of development that are economically feasible right now. So I'm really excited about this concept. I think it's just what the community can do to show that we're doing our part to get that area redeveloped. And so the first step will be to create a team, and the county has been fantastic that they're providing assistance through the county planning department and the water and wastewater authority that are going to, their staff time is going to comprise the bulk of the match that's needed for this. So they'll be part of the team, and of course, town folks, and then we'll be reaching out to residents and trying to get a good cross-section of people that represent this part of town to help guide the process and produce those deliverables. So I'm so excited that we have a piece of funding waiting for us for a sewer. It gives us some forward momentum on that, so.
I just have a couple questions, and
Sure.
I'm not, this is your wheelhouse, so I'm just.
No.
So with a sewer, we are pretty close to Pine Woods Park, which I don't know if there's ever an opportunity for us to have like some sort of sewer going into that park, but if we do that, then I would assume, if that's a possibility, that we would have to have other parkland if we use some of that parkland. If that's the case, should we I guess we don't have a buyer for that property over on 9G, but, I mean, that would be an area where we could make a park if we need to, correct? I mean, is that right way of thinking, or is it not correct?
Well, I definitely see your thought process, and that's smart to be thinking ahead on that. I mean, having kind of started looking at this with Dutchess County Water and Wastewater, there's a few different ways you could take the discharge from a sewer system, depending on the exact parameters of the system.
Okay.
And one would be out that direction through Pine Woods Park, but the more likely way would be to make the service area go further south and discharge down near the Eveready Diner area, like by Capola's. The
Oh, where-
stream that goes through
yeah,
there
yeah,
is a great spot to discharge, and you'd be able to tie in some more customers. So
I got
there's a
you.
couple different ways you could go. If you did want to put a pipe through Pine Woods Park, I'm not, maybe Warren could speak to this, but I think it's a little unclear as to whether you'd need to alienate the parkland if it's still being used for public purpose. I'm not sure
It's
if
an
a
easement.
trade would be
It
needed.
Very
It
similar.
would be that
Yeah.
issue. We'd have to get probably state legislation to authorize that.
And would Ken's point about trading that for a different piece of
That might be a
parkland?
quid pro quo that would justify the.
But it might just have to be a small amount of, just
Yeah.
where the pipe is. It wouldn't be
Well,
like the whole
at-
park.
Right, we want to abandon the park.
We're doing that with Greenfields.
Yeah.
Right.
And
But you can see, even for Greenfield,
Right.
it's, what
It
I
was-
thought was going to be a very
right.
simple issue is a little bit more complex. Every time you alienate parkland, that's
well, I think
becomes a
the
problem.
best piece for that would be this 2-acre parcel that adjoins the.
Right.
Right.
Pine
right,
Woods.
right.
That'd be
Which is
ideal
not
if we
currently
had to do
parkland.
Right.
Yeah.
A substitute,
And then the only other question I had about the sewer study, would this sewer only connect to the commercial properties?
That's right.
So it would not help the residents in the center of town?
Well,
When down
I
Cromwell.
think when it's been looked at in the past, I think the residents didn't necessarily want to connect because they had adequate service with their septic systems and didn't want the added expense. So that's why the focus has always been on the commercial properties.
Okay.
But
Is
it
that
could be
right?
expanded, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
it could, but I think that is exactly right, what Emily has indicated, because they're very good soils, apparently, in this
Okay.
part
It
of
is,
town.
it is.
And most people have their septic systems already, so in some ways, it could benefit the district, because the more customers you
Right, that's
have,
what
it
I'm
does
thinking.
bring
Yeah.
the price down. But, it's been the consensus or the thought that it should be confined to the commercial area, so.
Okay.
I
But
mean,
again, that's why
You know
there's a-
what, right, I'm sorry.
That's why there's a steering committee working on this so that, those things can be
And a
hashed out
feasibility
and,
study,
Right.
which,
Yeah.
we mentioned the process, so you have the feasibility study, and then the next step would be creating a map plan and report
Right.
where you create the boundaries,
Yeah.
and then eventually go to construction documents
Right.
and set.
I mean, it's exciting that we're
action
even having this
plan.
conversation today.
yeah. Yeah, because in order to, it's all like you have to do one step at a time, because you
Yeah.
can't create a district when you don't know what the cost of the system is. You can't ask people, do you want to be part of this system, before you know what price they'd be signing on for. So it all kind of needs to go step by step. But Water and Wastewater's been great to work with on that.
So once we sign this agreement tonight, hopefully, when does things start going into action?
When we get them going.
Soon. Soon.
No.
And so the first steps will be to develop a committee of folks that'll be working on it and get that group together. And then we have to put together an RFP to hire a consulting firm that'll do the bulk of the work. And Warren did get assurance from NYSERDA that, because it's kind of a complex project, we want to make sure that when we put an RFP out, we're hoping that someone will be able to do all the components for the
Components of it.
price that has been budgeted. So hopefully that will happen, and if it somehow doesn't, if we were way off in the budget, we will have the ability to get out of this contract.
I got you, great. Excellent, thank you, great job.
Okay, so,
That's
nobody
exciting.
here to give public comment, so should we move on to the
It's
resolutions?
very exciting news. I mean,
Yes,
that
thanks.
area, people remember, it was a very bustling area,
Uh-huh.
many years ago. And it's terrible. The biggest complaints I get when I go door-to-door campaigning is, what are you going to do with that mess? So this is the start of trying to improve the area, which is very important to the
It's
town.
actually key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Really excited.
Yes, thanks, Dave, agree. Okay, Emily, you want to start?
Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry. Resolution 281 of 2016, resolution appointing Robert Waters as an alternate member of the Planning Board.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 28-2 of 2016, resolution appointing Barbara Pierce as a member of the Town of Hyde Park Conservation Advisory Council, CAC.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Barbara's already gotten to work, and we're so grateful.
Yeah, to Barbara and Rob Waters.
Resolution 283 of 2016, resolution authorizing the town supervisor to execute agreement for transfer of VANDERBURGH COVE wastewater system to Dutchess County Wastewater Authority.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
And just if I could, if
sure.
we could get the resolution and the signed environmental assessment form to DCWWA first thing in the morning.
Okay.
So, and I'll try to go over to Rhinebeck and see if they do the same tonight, make
Okay.
sure that one, okay.
Resolution 28-4 of 2016, resolution accepting historian's annual report for the year 2015.
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
And I'd just like to take another opportunity to thank Carol for all the really good work she did for Hyde Park. Amazing number of projects in the 2 years that she served. So thanks to you, Carol, for all that, and look forward to working with our new historian, Barbara Hobens.
Yes.
Resolution 285 of 2016, resolution authorizing the town supervisor to execute an agreement with the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, NYSERDA, for a Cleaner Greener Communities Program Phase 2, Category 2 grant entitled Retrofitting Hyde Park's Town Center.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 28-6 of 2016, resolution approving budget revisions to the Town of Hyde Park for the period of December 2015, budget revision number 2015-12.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
And so the Comptroller's Department has been working diligently to close the books for 2015, and these are the final revisions for that year. The auditors will be in Town Hall next week, and we'll probably have a audit very soon after that. So, Warren, my only question was, this contract had no revisions, right? From
No.
the NYSERDA, we're ready to go?
No, it's
As
fine.
is? Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
great, okay. Great. Okay, so with that, may I, do we have any?
Actually, did you
yeah.
announce that public hearing?
Yes,
Oh,
good
sorry.
idea. Why don't you go ahead and do that? Well, we're having a public hearing. I'm not sure if the public is aware, but the Belfield project, the T-Rex parcel, directly across from the culinary, received a grant award of $2.25 million through the Regional Economic Development Council, and they will be having a public hearing 2 p.m. this coming Friday.
2 p.m.?
Yep, 2 p.m. on the awarding of those monies to the T-Rex Belfield project. So the public is welcome to come and make comments, and
Yeah, it's hosted by the state, but it's taking place here in the town hall.
in the town hall, and, we'll be looking forward, one of the town board or the planning board, to making just the comment that, part of the original concept plan for that property is to contribute to a commercial sewer district for the existing commercial area. So we'll just be making that pretty simple comment as supporting the project and articulating that there is an attachment to
Commitment.
to an attached commitment to the existing commercial section. So if the public is interested, I believe they have it on their own website, the proposed project. And there was a presentation that was given back in July by the developers. And it's a very exciting project, and we look forward to seeing it move ahead.
I think I also saw in the paper, are we having a town hall meeting here with the county as well?
That's right. I think that's March 3rd. The county executive will be giving a presentation on the jail, I believe, the proposed jail, and probably some other updates. But yeah, I think Donna, do you happen to know off the top of your head? I think it's March 3rd.
March 3rd, right.
Is that right,
Yes.
Dave? At what time is it? 5:30?
I don't have a time.
Okay. So, we'll make sure that
We'll
we
make sure we
post
get that out.
But yep. Okay. Great. All right, so may I have,
Do you want a quick update on Green Tree or?
I think we're good.
I think we're good, yeah. Okay, good. So, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, David.
I didn't know whether you
I was awake, baby.
Well, have we solidified that?
I didn't need these, I borrowed them from Don, I
Let's
returned
see
them
here.
Anytime.
in case I had a coffee tap.
Do you have a signed copy, or would you like me to have her sign?
If you could have her sign that